Welcome to IT Mastermind Talks, your access to insights and experiences from thought leaders in the IT services industry and those that support the industry. Our podcast features not only the seasoned professionals charting their start to exit journey, but also the key contributors who help ensure their success. We delve into the diverse challenges encountered within the IT services realm, encompassing both professional hurdles and personal obstacles. Join us, be part of our growing community, and engage in the conversation. Hosted by Ian Markram of Loading Growth.
Hey, good day. Today I'm talking to Archie, and a really, really good friend of mine, a client of mine for about a year. He's got a great story from startup, from software to a bit of product and a bit of services and the challenges around that. So it'll be awesome to hear from Archie today. Archie, would you just like to give yourself a bit of a introduction there, please?
Yeah, Ian, great. Thanks so much for having me. Looking forward to the chat. Yeah, so I'm the MD at Oxle, and we've been in the industry, I guess, since 2012. Builders at heart, building out different businesses, solutions, e-commerce, through to what we're doing now with Oxle. So yeah, we've got IT services, consulting, and building out our own platform. Been through a lot over the last 10, 12 years.
For sure. Brilliant. Okay, so we're going to just start off at the beginning, how it all started, and a bit about your background and your journey. Okay, so what inspired you to actually start out initially, Archie, on this journey to where you are now?
Yeah, so at uni was thinking about different solutions, problems. I was doing sport management, if you like, and thinking about lots of different things. And I came up with an idea around an online auction site for sporting clubs and charities. And one great piece of advice I got when I was tossing it around was, Archie, go away and do the work. Go and do the work to see if it's viable, do the numbers, and then that'll tell you whether you should pursue it. Great bit of advice straight up. And from the back of doing a business plan, I suppose back then was, I was lucky enough to get some funding and get some money and dive straight into it. So as I was only 22, 23, 24, starting out as a founder, it was certainly, like a big steep learning curve. But it still got me to where I am today.
For sure. Well, let's just go and go a bit more into detail about some of those initial steps that you've taken to get you launched at the beginning of that journey. Can you sort of just think back? I know sometimes it's quite hard to think back. Just some of the things, so that when people listening to the podcast today or on YouTube, they can really resonate or understand where you've gone to get to this journey and how you launched yourself there. A bit more detail.
Sure. Yeah. So I guess once we I was getting the concept together and getting solving the problem, getting that on paper, I had to build a team. So started with building what the team, the skill sets looked like from an overall governance perspective, from the technical skills. So, development teams, marketing teams, operations, finance. Started to fill out my network as I, didn't know I had the ideas, but needed some help.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we really started building out the team. That was the first bit. And then it was sort of seeking vendors to bring the idea to life in terms of something tangible. And looking back, that's something that, if I had my time again, I would have probably seek to get a technical founder alongside. I think would have helped accelerate. So that would be one thing for startups out there if they're looking to get into it, is think about whether they want to buy, that technical capability or bring it into their team as a co-founder from the get-go. I think would give you a little bit of a leg up that we didn't pursue at the time. But nonetheless, it wasn't a huge barrier. We still started pretty lean to get something up that was that we could start engaging with, and our focus on champion customers at the time and building it alongside them. That's definitely a methodology that holds me in good stead today and a real focus. So we just went to work, and this model was working with sporting clubs and charities. So we had to just get out and start promoting how we can help them and how this platform was going to help them, and preceding it. So we had customers ready to go once we launched, or some friendlies to test and learn and try and get into it. So then we started building it.
Brilliant. So you would have learned a lot of lessons going through that, things working, things not working, and pivoting to get that success that you had initially. Can you sort of mention sort of any of the things that you learned out of that, the pivoting part,
Yeah, particularly around, looking at your runway and your cash burn. how to manage that is really difficult at the start, because you can see it that you need to spend money to get key people in there. So how you manage that was a real challenge, and overcoming that and looking for funding and looking for additional funding versus what we did was going, the amount of money we were going to have to raise for that first business was significant. Can we pivot? Can we adapt? Can we adapt with what we've got and jump into new opportunities where the numbers may have made a bit more sense? So that was certainly a challenge. And I think the challenge is getting money in, managing your cash flow. You want to have key people everywhere, but who are the core people, and how far you can stretch it. So that, thinking back, it's a fair while ago from those early days. Yeah. We really tried to bootstrap it and be as resourceful as we can. And it's a real challenge. I think that side of it, and that's something that stands out.
Yeah,
the innovative side of it, and having a development roadmap and coming up with ideas you think are going to be really beneficial to your customers came more naturally to us and our team. But it was more around managing the need for cash, I suppose.
For sure. How did you get your first sort of client? Can you sort of describe, the steps and the way you went around getting your first client? Because that's normally the thing that holds people back from starting out is, they don't have the cash, or they need a client to get going with an idea or a product idea in your situation. How did you get your first client? Can you just sort of talk through that?
Yeah, I briefly mentioned it, and something that is a philosophy is really engaging your future customer early, and you really want to hold on to your IP because you're worried about potentially someone taking your idea or running away, or what that might look like. It's not fully developed, but trying to work with champions or people that think it's a great idea, would adopt it, get commitments from them almost as you're building it, is something that we really focus on and continue to focus on now. If we've got a new product we're looking to take to market, is this a good market fit? Is this a vertical that can scale? Yes, no. Have we got some people that are happy to jump into it, test it, build it alongside? So that's how we got our first customers, was working with people that are willing to give something a go that's not perfect.
Yeah, great. And build it with them is awesome, from a cash flow perspective as well, but also to verify your idea of, the actual product itself, validate it as you move through. Normally the biggest challenge in early stage business is that first client, and then it's cash flow. Were there any sort of other challenges at the early stage for you besides those two?
Yeah, I think with the business model was definitely a challenge that we remember. So giving it away or making it as, we were really successful of getting people onto the platform for free to trial it, but without that financial commitment, they don't use it as well as you can. So that was something that we really had to balance. Like, great, we're getting people on board. It's all happening. It's all moving in the right direction. But our numbers from a revenue perspective weren't strong. So, and then could we build case studies out of our early adopters because they were on there trialing it for free? Probably didn't eventuate like we'd hope. So that was something that, lesson learned around getting early adopters, but making sure that you can get them to use it to their full potential, so you can really leverage those early adopters as well.
Yeah, it is the trick, to get someone that's actually going to use the product, but double down and use it properly so that you actually get the feedback from them. It is because as you say, anything for free never really gets used properly, and that is the challenge. So just going back through the background of the journey there, what did you name your company up front, and has it changed, and what's happened with that?
Yeah, for sure. It did. As I said, that idea was around, helping sporting clubs and charities. So we were Club Solutions Australia, and the business was Club Bids, online auction site for sporting clubs and charities. I still think it's got some legs in terms of an idea with a different angle to it. But from there, we did quite well, but not well enough that we could see that we were going to run out of money. So I had to pivot. And from there, the success of it, I guess, launched Oxle, which is what we're doing now. And Oxle means to, in that philosophy, to come to aid or help in Latin. So it's a play on sort of our mission that was behind Club Solutions Australia, if you like, but building out these collective services for businesses and organisations was where we pivoted into. And we also then launched our IT services side at the same time. Raising money is really hard. So this made sense from an IT consulting perspective, from a service perspective, that became our revenue generator. And then from there, we could invest that into our products to keep our, SaaS platform going, to keep our startup or where we think we can go really big as a company going, but it came a nice way to supplement our cash flow.
Yeah, brilliant. And normally it's the other way around. So a lot of, in the loading growth world that I work in as a coach, a lot of the clients start off as IT services because they get the client from their previous engagements as a consultant. 3 years ago, they would have worked at this company, and then they bring in, they go back to that company and they, upsell their skills as a new entity. And then they get the work. And then after 4 or 5 clients and some revenue, then they go, this consulting gig is actually quite hard. How about building a product and we can actually make some, monthly retainers out of that product or ARR, whatever it is. You actually came around the other way around, which is quite interesting. But it's the same thing at the end of the day. You got to have that revenue, that cash flow coming through so you can carry on developing your software products and your vision around what you want to do. Any challenges around that?
Yeah, look, I think, that whichever way you go, there's challenges both ways, whether you've been in the industry for a while. I mean, you're probably a bit more experienced and you've got more connections and you might be able to get things going versus what I did when you just jump into it and you've got really no idea what you're doing. But you haven't got a lot of life risks, I guess, attached to it, like not married, no kids, no dependents, just like have a go. So, but I think as I've got older, those things have now changed my sort of outlook and of how you look at it. But no, I think they're both ways to go in terms of, I guess, challenges as such. One challenge that we've found is building things from an IT service perspective that doesn't actually help our core business. So whilst it generates revenue, it takes up bandwidth of devs, developers, of people coming up with great ideas and trying your best to execute them. It may be moving away from where our core focus was. And that's something that's really, we've had to realign lots around that of going, great, this is making us money. It's keeping the lights on, really critical. When you run out of money, you haven't got a business, but it can become a too big a distraction. So it's really balancing that up is something that we do focus on. And I guess further to that, it's I like to think there's a bit of a curtain in terms of your short-term focus and objectives and your long-term vision and where you're heading. And it's really easy to get caught in either side for too long. If you're just building short-term, making money, it's not pushing towards your vision versus if you're stuck or thinking about that, your long-term play, you lose sight of actually making money or keeping things moving. So getting that balance right is a real challenge with this model.
Yeah. Look, the thing with the consulting is you're solving someone's problems and that takes energy. That takes focus and energy to actually do that. And, that energy is limited as a co-founder like you, and you've got to protect that energy. Otherwise you can't carry on building your products and developing your products. So that's where the challenge is. And sometimes the consultancy firms actually split up into separate businesses and they actually have a product business and then they fund that product business into a separate business because of just that. So yeah, it's been interesting to see your journey from the sidelines and it's positive and it's working. And I think it's, everyone's got a different rhythm and a different cycle to how they work and operate. And for you, it's working. Could you talk a bit about your team? We spoke, a couple of weeks ago about you going to Vietnam to talk to your team and use that team to, build the relationships better and how they work with you remotely, because I think that's a real asset. You can dev fast, you can, bring in new technology really quickly and you can do it at an affordable price. Can you just talk about how that started, that dev team and how you work with it and where you are with that at the moment?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So across the journey, had onshore and offshore teams, built out. And a lot of it started really about trying to protect a runway and how much money and having really good people onshore versus getting 5 potentially offshore became a real consideration for us going, can we do this? And we actually had, which I was fortunate, a Vietnamese head developer who built our platform to start with, who set us up, who before moving on said, I think you can really do this offshore. You should have a look at it. So that started us out to go, right, if we're going to build this out offshore, where are we going to go? Vietnam made sense for us, given the connections and the relationships. And what I've liked about it is the absolute flexibility where you can have full-time, part-time, contractors, freelancers that you can, based on the project or what we're looking to do, we can build teams together that can help, I guess, anyone on a budget as well. So, we can be agile for there, so we can scale up and scale down. And that being offshore has really helped us with that. When I've needed people, because we've got lots of, we're looking to build and build quick, we can throw resources on it versus scaling down. Like when in a pandemic, that where that really hurt. If you've got full-time people, rather than letting them go, I could scale down. So that's worked for us and working.
Yeah.
I think some of the challenges, particularly though, where people get stuck is around really good process and communication. I think it all starts there. So having people on the ground for us that speak really good English, that can interpret exactly what we're trying to do beyond just a list. They can challenge the business logic to a certain degree. They fully understand what you're trying to do. Then it's transferred to the development team's time to develop those processes, but absolutely critical for us.
Yeah, I think it's great. You're doing a really good job. You went out to see them as well to build that relationship further. You spend time with them, and I think that's the result. A lot of people that try and have an offshore team want to throw it over the fence, and I think that's where things fall over, because a lot of people have tried to do what you've done, Archie, but you've cracked it, and you've cracked the code, and you've worked it out, and you put that effort in there, and you communicate really, really well. So, that's sort of things that actually make it work. So well done on that. And I think it's a great asset to your business. So keep it up.
Thanks, Ian. Yeah, like getting over there, that relationship piece can't be underestimated.
Yeah.
When they see you and you connect with them and went and saw their families and where they live and where their kids go to kinder. And, I was the star attraction of kindergarten. The kids are all running up to me, and it just meant a lot to them seeing you actually come over there. You're not just getting them onto the next feature. You're real people. Automatically seeing that I was able to do some really good work with them from a strategy perspective, where they see the future, where they see technology going, what were you trying to execute right now, how can we improve? But also that relationship piece is just automatically seen an uptick in communication back their way and how they're working. So yeah, really successful trip. And I'll definitely be back for just to do those exact exercises.
Yeah, it's people want to work with people at the end of the day, and it's they are providing a service as a dev team to you, so you've got to really treat them as part of the family and be involved with them and understand them, and because they are humans as well. They have ups and downs, and if you got someone in the office near you, you can actually see that happening. And when you've got a team that's remote, it's very hard. So it's good that you actually do that. So awesome for that.
And then just before you move on, something I'm really proud of with that is that, we've been working with them now for 7 years and kept the core team together for 7 years, is pretty rare to be able to do that and build that out with them. So, it's definitely working, definitely the model but it's taken a lot of refinement. But yeah, we're really proud of that.
Yeah. It's, I was just in Philippines on Saturday just to do that with one of my other clients. He's hired 6 people there in the last year, and we've helped him hire the team and worked with his team to actually develop that team further and further. And he's really commented a few times this week how much better it's worked by being over there and working with him for a whole day. Just one day, it impacted it. So yeah, I can't speak highly of enough of it to actually go out and do that. Let's go back to sort of the pivotal moment when we were working together back in November, and we talked a bit about the focus on FarmMate, your product, your number one product you got out there. You're passionate about it, which I really like. It's solving something. Can you just talk about the product and then how you ended up really doubling down on it and why? Can you just talk a bit about that as well?
Yeah, sure. Our SaaS platform that we're building end to end, FarmMate is a worker welfare risk management compliance solution, working with our champions, if you like, to deliver content differently to palm workers and Pacific workers that are coming into the country. It's a massive problem that these employers or labour hire companies are dealing with, just making sure they understand everything from work expectations to what they've got to do on site. English as a second language. So FarmMate fit perfectly into an app utility, getting an app in these workers' hands where you can communicate to them visually, simply, to actually move the needle that way in a vertical, I suppose, where we go, from a market size perspective, that there's lots of them. We can really make an impact. So fit really nicely with our mission of helping businesses, but also helping the workers on the ground. Yeah, so FarmMate is, I guess, our flagship brand or app that we're really looking to push. And yeah, like when we're building these things, we're always a little bit stuck in a market or in a labour hire industry where they haven't been the most proactive at adopting technology. So getting change management right, but just building proof points and communicating it in the right way, showing it actually working on the ground, having employers say that they've reduced their rate of incidents by 20% since using the product. Those sorts of things are
Wow,
really
fantastic.
starting to see get us some momentum and some real success. That's what that does, and it fits into our model of going, we want to work with employers to workforces, so we can
Yeah.
see that farm mates are a real focus, but we've got some other opportunities as well with our model, if you like, that we're looking to scale.
Brilliant. Look, it's a great product. I've seen it, and I've seen the pitches that you've done to those potential clients, and it's such a good story around it. So if anyone's listening to this, please have a look at it. And I know Archie's always looking for feedback, so reach out to him if need be.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So yeah, from an employer's perspective, the risk management compliance piece is huge, and it's only growing. So being able to digitize that, plug and play a solution that we can work with you to look after your team, look after your HR teams as well, that are really working hard to manually deliver a lot of this stuff. We can work with you to, I guess, transform that piece, give some time back, cover your butt.
Sure. So the challenge you have in that area is around, also I see when we're talking is some of these sort of farmers, they don't have the time, that they under the pump themselves, they're not cutting edge. There's a few challenges. Can you just talk a bit about those challenges and how you're trying to overcome those challenges as well?
Yeah. So, if we look at horticulture, for example, where a lot of the palm workers primarily come in, they've got slight admin teams they'd be multi-million-dollar businesses because they've got mandarins and bananas and all like huge farms, but they're on the ground, they're in the office, they're on the ground, they're helping the workers, they're making the business run. So what ends up happening is they've got a lean or a really light HR team. So they're overworked and stressed, but then adopting systems seems difficult because they're just flat out doing job to jobs. It creates both, a challenge getting in, but also opportunity where if we can really show them how we can lighten the load through, I guess, moving them through from manual systems, face-to-face briefings without anything documented of what the power of data can do for them, automating process, engaging the works, which should be great data that they realize that this actually is going to save them a hell of a lot of time when it comes to an audit perspective. But yeah, they're certainly doing a lot. They're doing a lot with these workers, and their admin teams are doing a lot.
Yeah, brilliant. You're solving multiple problems there, and I think that's the opportunity to sort of change a bit of an industry, help the industry a lot with that one application. It's brilliant. So just to move on back onto the services side, Archie, because as you said up front, you started out building products, and then you got the services team to help build the products, your own products, and you got a whole lot of ideas of new products coming out. But I won't that's probably for another podcast at some stage later. But I know that you've got other products coming out, and you're using that team to build those products, and they're getting really, really honed in on solving some of those issues. Can you just talk about the services that you do potentially for other clients as well?
Yeah, sure. I guess being a full stack SaaS solution where, end to end in our own products, it's given us the capability to be able to provide that service to others or parts of it. So, we really build out where others have seen our technology and gone, can you help us with building something similar for us, or a different platform, whether that's an LMS or different platforms like that. So it sort of developed from there, having already have the skills that we're utilizing to then easily pivot them into projects where they work. And so we've picked up lots of different things in from e-commerce from the early days through to building out on AWS, which is where we said we specialize, and then different front end and apps and different technologies depending on what they need. And it's always been something that we've made sure it's a secondary focus for us. So we've got our focus on our core business, but it's certainly starting to grow over the last few years as the demand for people wanting, I guess, to leverage offshore teams as well as go through an Australian company.
Yeah. Look, they need, that is the challenge. I talk about this all the time, is with the offshore team, you need the strategic thinking on this side and the design and everything else. And that is because those people in offshore world don't understand what is really the problem you're really solving. They're not close enough to the client. And that is so relevant when you go overseas and you work in KL for a week or two, like I've done in the year already, in Indonesia or Philippines. The people that you're working with and the business owners there, that are helping with, BPO type of services, they do not understand really the problem you're trying to solve here, because they've never seen that problem in action. And they can't really understand it. So you need someone locally or a team locally to design it, sense check it, and then hand it over to a team to develop it. And I think that's the magic that you're working at Oxle.
I think for me, even a lot of people with great ideas haven't fully developed everything that may come into it. And there's real power in, if you've got a good idea, let's throw it up on the board. Let's mind map it, work on all the inputs. What are all the related things that need to happen of just, you've got this one idea, but what else can be plugged in or added to it, and really fleshing out the full solution, getting a really clear set of requirements for, from end to end. If you can, I can work with someone at that level, it's quite powerful. And then it's documenting that in a way that an offshore team can then understand what they've actually got to build, how to execute it. And then you've got your systems and processes in to do that. So it does work well. I do agree. If you just package it up and send it to an offshore team without someone, I guess, in between like us, or even in my case, our team, and then another layer of project managers that speak amazing English and have got some real smarts about them.
Yeah.
It can be really, really challenging. And we have picked up a lot of work where people have just got into a hole. Their offshore team's gone dark. They, don't know where it's at, and try and help them that way. But if you get it right at the start, you get some really good outcomes.
Sure. On the services side, who's your sort of ideal client? Just talking about that. Let's, can you drill down into who you think your ideal client would be? I know it's, it's not always the same, but if you had to talk about your ideal client on the services side.
Yeah. And it's been good working with you. And we talked about this earlier. Looking back on it, I will have just said, absolutely anyone who needs something built, because it made money. So, but now we're looking to specialize much more and aligning to build products and services for others that are without our team's capability and feeding into our development stack, if you like. So that would be AWS. It's still a SaaS. It's end to end. So full stack we can do. So anyone that's looking to build out on AWS as their core platform, and then if they're a SaaS business or an app looking to be in the app space, which we are, native apps, any sort of, app that they're looking to build and develop. That's where we specialize, and we're going to really look to focus in more and more in that space, particularly as AWS are releasing more and more in the AI. Their models that are available that businesses could utilize, but it's really hard to do. If you just went on there now, you can't do it. I think we can really specialize in that space. So if anyone's looking for some services in cloud, SaaS, full stack apps, that's where we're specializing.
Really great. And I'd say if you stay focused that way, you'll get the right results as well for the customers as well. And because you've got the team behind it. And I always find when people try and grab something else just outside their comfort zone in the services world or in the development world, and they don't really get that type of outcome for the client, is good. And then that margin erodes, and it's a bit of a frustration. So sometimes stay to your focus core is what I believe,
Yeah. And there's some traps. There's some traps even with some offshore teams that can say, can you do this? We can do it. And they kind of figure it out as they go, and it ends up being more costly or takes time. Versus having really defined roles, skill sets that we can plug and tap into and know they're going to do a great job is the key.
For sure. And that's, being there for 7 years, knowing the people, and you've actually understood their capability, exactly what you can deliver and you can't deliver. And that's the important thing. That is the amazing thing. So well done on that.
Yeah. And it's ever evolving though. You're only as good as the people. So if we're building our own team, contracting our own, Oxle teams over there, plus using other, let's say, development houses and things over there, their people can go up and down as well. So where they may have been strong contracting a team previously, may have lost people. So you've got to be really careful of how you manage that to make sure you get great outcomes.
Brilliant.
And that's something that we've learned over the 7 years,
Yeah, you learn it. Yeah, definitely. It's all about the people. It doesn't matter if it's a product business or a services business. It comes down to people. Can you just think through, you've had a lot of successes, I know, because I've been working with you for a while. Can you just think about one success story on the services side that had an impact on their, on their business that you developed for someone or did something?
Yeah. I know we worked with, whether I won't name the company, but we worked
maybe the industry
a very large labour hire company. separate to what we're doing with FarmMate, where they were doing manual signups and registrations for all their labour hire workforce. So they
Yep.
engaged us to digitize that program, where they went from manual process to onboarding 50,000 workers through the app. They captured 160,000 documents, so PDFs, so everything from passports to photo ID, all these sort of, requirements when you need to build out a profile on a worker that they might have been deploying them. They were doing all that manual, so people would drop off their pay slips, they would email them in or post them in, and then they would have to work out what their deductions and things were from a labour host. To be able to digitise that process from end to end, and even allow the staff to be able to review these deductions, work out whether they're classified or not from them, and then deliver it back down to the worker and say, yes, it's been approved, you're going to get paid. Yeah, it was a really successful, is just one example of, I guess, digitizing a paper-based process, but a big one.
Yeah, that's great success story. We're going to move on to the challenges. Now, everyone as a founder has challenges, and I want to ask you, what's your sort of the biggest challenge you think you've had to date? And it could be around, product delivery or sales, marketing. It could be something around staff, anything sort of that you think has been the biggest challenge you've ever had?
Yeah, the biggest challenges we've ever had has definitely been from a founder's perspective of going, we're going to run out of money. If we continue to go on this path, we are going to die. What do we do about it? And like having a strong team around you helps, and you go to work on that problem. But I think that's something that you get to a real flashpoint where you go, well, we either give up and say that was too hard, or you go to work on it. So we've definitely, I think every founder will relate to that, of looking at their cash burn and going, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to get around it? And I remember some of those times, not that's happened often, but in the early days particularly, going, what are we going to do? And a real strength, and I think of us at mine and the team, my management team and my board and my investors, has gone, yeah, no, there's always a way to solve it. If you kind of got the determination to keep going, let's go. Let's find a way. Yeah. So that's, to me, comes down to really is some of the tougher times as a founder.
Yeah. Can you just talk a bit about your, you obviously, building products and they're going to market, and you have applied for grants in the past. Can you just give us a 20 seconds or 30 seconds on applying for grants?
R&D or grants?
Yeah, R&D grants.
Yeah, so R&D tax incentive is a really good one. If you're building your own products, is a way that you can get some relief from the government. You get a fair bit. I think it's 42.5 cents of the dollar back for development services. There's some rules and regulations you need to go through. So if you are building your own stuff, I would highly recommend having a look at that, and feel free to reach out to me. There's some experts out there that's all you do. A lot of accountants do that as well. But there's some rules that you need to be able to get through. So that's something that I think all startup businesses should be doing, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that really helps your cash flow, and you can think about whether you have onshore resources there or offshore resources, and some of the things you can and can't claim. The other things out there, there's programs like Civic Labs or Startup Victoria, we're in Vic, but startup bodies around that will do challenges where you might get 10 or 15, 20 grand to do a proof of concept, which is great because you can spin something up, get something developed, and then take that to market. And doing that process led us for us, WorkSafe Victoria, and doing a big pilot on FarmMate alongside WorkSafe Victoria was fantastic exposure and a way to continue our momentum. So that's something else that you could look at, as well as there's other matching grants out there that we've considered as well along the journey.
Sure. Great. Can you just talk a bit about investors? And obviously, cash, when you're developing products up front, because you're product first base rather than the services. So you've gone out to get some investors. Can you just talk a bit about that for a minute or two? How did you go out and get investors, and how did you pitch them and all those things?
Yeah. Again, great experience going into the Shark Tank, if you like it, in certain degrees across the way. But it really started again from being able to put what your business is, what you're doing, what problem you're solving, getting a really good pitch deck together. So I worked with some my team that have done some raising before around being able to articulate what you're doing and why it's different and how you can scale it and getting your numbers right behind it. So again, I came back to almost the business plan I spoke about at the start with your first idea. Going to raise money, you need to be really organized, and the lens from selling to your customers versus pitching to people who should invest in your business is different, is different as well. Different language, different approach. So getting that right. So what we did, so whether it's an IM or just a pitch deck to be able to then go, and then it's sort of going through the channels that are available, whether it's Melbourne Angels, Sydney Angels, these sorts of groups are quite good and quite friendly and quite open to hearing your idea when you're ready, as well as, the VCs of the world, your Blackbirds of the world, or your Square Peg, these ones that are looking to develop the next unicorn are there, but depends on your business and your appetite for working with some of those. What we did was try and raise just enough money to protect our equity, I suppose, to continue to develop our platform, get as much traction as possible before we look to, I guess, go and scale to the next level. So it's how much do you need to raise at each level, I guess, to achieve your goals, to get market traction that'll make you more attractive for more investment. So we worked with, I guess, more friendly people in the angel network, friends or family, people that are connected to us, to our business. We like the idea, got some money, let's go, let's build it together. So that's how we did it. I know sitting in at an AWS conference last week that the venture capital guys were there, and they were just talking about, one of the key things of thinking global from the start. So do you build it here in Australia, get your traction, and then look to scale it offshore, and the problems that can happen with that versus thinking global from day one and a Canva of the world or a Atlassian. But there's a fair few different ways to do it depending on your type of business. So if that answers your question.
Yeah, good. Perfect. Technology is changing. AI, everyone's talking about that at the moment. But can you just talk a bit about, you went to the AWS event last week. You sent me an email when you get on the plane and how, pumped you were for some great ideas, obviously, coming from the event. But could you talk a bit about, where is that technology stack currently and where you think it's going? And in reality, because what these big tech vendors are, they're always trying to sell a vision that's not there yet, but they want you to be deployed on that stack. Can you just talk a bit about that innovation and where you're going with the business around that? And and a bit more around anything.
I think it's come an enormous way in the last 18 months from where it started. And I look at a platform like let's AWS Bedrock, for example. We're still starting to work our way with what's possible. But 12 months ago, there was only a couple of models in there that you could use. Agents weren't developed. Starting to do some image generation, to now their capability is much, much stronger. So being able to use their platform to, I guess, implement things like image generation, video generation, being able to prompt to do that, the AI agents, looking at developing them, but then also orchestration, so getting them to do a lot of the grunt work for you behind the scenes. So there's certainly lots happening. I think, as you said, it's come a long way, but by the time I think we look at the end of 2026, let's say go another 12 months, it's going to be better and better again. So what we're looking at and what AWS we're sort of promoting as well is automation versus augmentation. So having agents or robots do a lot of the grunt work with a human layer of checks and balances, making sure that it's correct, and then almost being able to communicate that person to person, and then getting an agent to do a lot of the data capture, the analytics, to be able to spin up insights, etc. So augmentation is still critical at this juncture, I think. So not relying 100% on just AI, but it's certainly coming. So what we're looking at is future-proofing ourselves. So we're SaaS, we're a SaaS stack. There's going to be AI native businesses that will be starting now, where you just build on top of a large language model and build out your whole service that way. Versus for us, we're going to be looking to keep our stack, if you like, but then plug in all these AI tools to enhance our product, our app. So what that looks like practically for us is having multilingual chatbots that can talk to workers, that can help them solve their problems inside the app, and then automatically send those problems to their employer so they can help them with whatever their challenge is, versus them logging a request manually, if you like, using a contact us form. So it's pretty cool what you could do now. And then looking at, the end of 2026, I think we'll be coding just through like Copilots of the world. It's still not quite there to be able to just do end-to-end coding right now. There's still too many errors, inaccuracy problems. Yeah. So future-proofing ourselves, looking at being ready for, let's say, 2026, but also developing as much as we possibly can now and embedding as much AI as we can now to help our products further, help our customers, etc.
Great. Look, it's a exciting area. I can't wait to get a $50,000 robot to come to my house and do the things that no one else wants to do.
It's coming for sure. For sure.
It's coming, and I'll let you, I'll let you be the managed service provider of that, so you can just tap in and upgrade it when you need to, because I don't even want to do that. You know what I mean? So you can
when it stops working.
Yeah, you can just log in remotely. That's great. But the innovation, it's a hard thing with technology is you got to keep upskilling yourself and putting the effort into learning about it. But I suppose if you're passionate about it, which you are, then you just do it naturally. And I think it's a core thing that you bring, Archie, to that. So that's awesome. Where do you think you see yourself and the two businesses you have at the moment? One is the FarmMate and one's Oxle. Where do you see that in the next year to 2 to 3 years? Have you got a vision for that? Where do you really see that?
Yeah, we've got a really clear, I guess, map of where we want to take FarmMate or the Oxle tech stack. And there's no doubt we're looking to scale now that we feel like we've got through that MVP proof of concept stage. We're ready to scale. But we're looking to aggressively build the SaaS startup, the product side, and the plan will that to become more and more of a core focus. With still some supporting consulting activities, but that's where we're looking to go in the next 3 years, is scale in Australia through agriculture and related industries, and then looking at that vertical, I guess, in other countries with the same problem that we're looking to tap. And I think we'll look to move into there sooner rather than later. But we're really looking to scale our product side first and foremost, and that's our core focus. And then but I think the IT services side is an absolute requirement for us, keeping the lights on, keeping cash flow. So we're going to just look to, I guess, continue to specialize in that IT services space and be more and more specialists in there. Are probably the two objectives with both sides of the business.
Yeah. You can do so much more now with the lean offshore team, but with the tools as well. You can actually deploy a lot quicker and faster for another startup or another product. And that's the advantage that you guys really bring to, because you've got that offshore team. They've been with you a while. They're highly skilled. You're in the right stack. It's really, really a good opportunity. I see that.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's what I'm talking to my team about. It's like, how do we get things out, spin it up faster, get a demo version working quicker? There's ways of doing that now, and that can be for whether you're a startup or an established business that's looking to develop your own product. It's like, get it up quick. Doesn't necessarily need to be perfect straight away. I guess maybe that's the startup founder mentality. It's like, come on, guys, let's get it going, and then improve alongside your customers. I think that mindset or methodology does stack up. And it's only going to get easier and easier to do that if you've got the right idea.
Sure, for sure. Last question, and then I know it's got to wrap up because you're hell of a busy, and I know you've got a hard shut-offs, and I appreciate the time. But what would you give someone that's aspiring to be sort of a IT builder product or a SaaS company like yours? What would what's the advice you would give to them?
Don't do it. No, absolutely. Have a go. Like, do the work. I would just say, do the work. Do the work, because if you do the work at the start before you spend any money, will give you confidence in the idea or the plan, and really go to work on that. So once you've done the work, it'll give you the confidence to decide whether you're going to do it. And even if the numbers don't make sense and you're passionate enough about it, explore it to the end. Most people will say, no, it won't work. Always sit there and go, no, I think if you're passionate enough, it can work, but the numbers do need to make sense. So I would suggest have a go, but do the work. Definitely do the work first, and that will give you the confidence. From there, talk to people about it. Like, you can be too protective of your kind of ideas. I think it's pretty rare, unless you're in maybe a big consulting firm and you're talking to your employer about your idea. I probably wouldn't recommend that. But if you're talking to friends and throwing around ideas, like, most people will say it's a bad idea, but do the work, talk about it, flesh it out, get some people that can help you. And whether that, like we said, like get a tech founder that can actually build the apps for you, come talk to someone like me that can maybe get it up lean, and then, have a go.
Brilliant. Okay, I like it. Well, thanks so much for the time, Archie. Appreciate it. And keep up the good work, and we'll chat later.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for joining us on IT Mastermind Talks. Don't miss out on our next episode. Hit the follow button and stay updated. Want to be our next podcast guest? Contact us and share your expertise with our audience. Visit www.itmastermindtalks.com for more information.